Today I'm going to show you how easy it is to knit a hat on a loom. So these are the tools you're going to need. You're going to need a loom. You're going to need a pair of scissors. You're going to need a pick. It usually comes with your loom, but if not, if you buy a loom separately, then you want to make sure to get one of these little picks. It's really important. On the loom, there's these little grooves on these pegs, and it just makes it really easy to do the knitting on the loom. And then if you want to use some stitch markers, go ahead and pick some of those up or use them. I don't actually use them. What I prefer to use is a trusty clothespin, and I'll show you how that works in just a minute. And now let's talk about the yarn. You're going to need to use some chunky yarn if you're making a hat or a scarf that you want for warmth. Now, I don't have any chunky yarn. I have tons of regular yarn. So what I do when I want a nice warm hat is that I mix the yarn. So I take 2 pieces of the 4-ply acrylic yarn, and like I said, if you have 1 strand of the chunky yarn, you can use that, but I don't have that today. So the first thing you want to do is you want to make a slip stitch. You're basically going to pull your material through the hole just to make a little slip stitch. And then you'll pull the longer piece to make it, smaller. So you'll see there's a little peg on the end here. I don't really use this, but a lot of people use it to do different things on their loom. You can start your stitch here on this small peg, but I find it's easier to use this to just kind of wrap your yarn around to kind of hold it in place with a clothespin, and I'll show you how that works in a minute. But what I do use this for is just a marker to tell where I start my hat. So I usually do that, put my little stitch right in front of this, so I always know where my first stitch is. So I'm going to just tighten this up. You don't want any of this too tightened because you're going to actually be taking this and moving everything over these pegs. So if they're too tight, it's going to be really hard for you. But it is so simple. All you're going to do is take your long end, and you're just going to go around the back of the first stitch, go to the second peg, and you're just going to be wrapping around these pegs. That's all you're going to do. It is so simple. Let me show you here. You're just going to wrap, and I'm going to go all the way around, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, when you get back to the very first stitch, you're going to take your pieces that are on your pegs. You're going to have one all the way around your loom. Okay, every one of them is going to have one of these stitches on. All I'm doing right now is holding this. But you're going to take your stitches and you want to move them down. Now you can do these while you're putting them on, but I find it's easier just to kind of move them all down when you get to the point of finishing the first round. So you're going to move them all the way down. The first one, you just have to kind of hold it because, nothing's on your loom yet. You don't want it to unravel. If it unravels, you're going to have to start all over. Okay, so you see you've got all of your yarn on the bottom of your pegs. So now you're going to go around and do another group of these stitches. So you're going to end up with 2 of these on every one. Just going to wrap them around so you have one at the bottom and one at the top. Okay? I'll see you in a minute. Okay, I've gone all the way around my loom, so I've got 2 stitches on each one of these pegs. I'm going to come to my last one and wrap it, and this is where this little piece comes in handy. All I'm going to do is wrap my yarn around this a couple times because I don't want it to come undone, and I don't like to have to hold it. And I just take my little thing here and just hold it in place. Now it's really easy to do the next step. Now, because this first one I'm going to be working right next to this little piece, I took this I took this off, but I'm gonna put it right back on. So you're gonna take your little pick right here, and all you're gonna do is the very first peg next to the one that you finished your row on, you're gonna take that bottom piece of yarn, and all you're gonna do is pull it up over the top. That's it. Do that on every one of these. And when you're done with this row, you're going to have your first set of knitting on your hoop. Okay, so now that I've got this, see how you have to kind of hold it so this part doesn't unravel? So now you just take this little clothespin and you don't have to hold anything. So now it's really easy. All you're going to do is just take your little peg, pull it up over, and you're going to do this all the way around till you come back to this first stitch. All right, when you get back to that first peg, you're going to go ahead and finish that one. And then just like the other one, we're going to push all these yarns down on our pegs. All right, now I'm going to unwrap my little end piece here. And we're going to go ahead and this is considered your first row now is on your loom, okay? So now we're just going to unwrap this side peg here, and we're going to start doing the same thing all over. We're going to take our yarn, and we're just going to go to the next peg, and we're going to put a loop on the top of every one of these. And that's it. We're going to continue doing this process for 20 rows because we want to make a rim on our hat. So this is all we're going to do right now. Just kind of going to have to manipulate your yarn because it's going to want to go all over the place, but that's it. You're going to do the same exact thing for 20 rows, and then we're going to come back and I'm going to show you how to make the rim. Okay, so this is what 20 rows is going to look like. You're going to have a nice bit of yarn that's going to have, you know, kind of come down in the loom, and you can already see, you can get an idea of how this is going to turn into a hat. So this is super, super, super simple. You're going to go back to where you put your first knot on your loom. Okay, there's your first knot. So you're going to pull this up, all of this up through your little loom. Pull your material through. And remember, I started on the one right behind this little piece. So this is going to be very easy now. All I'm going to do is take this little knotted piece and I'm going to put this over the very first peg that I worked on, which is this one. Okay. I'm going to pull that little knot through, and I want to make sure you can see this. You're going to take every single one of these stitches, 2 pieces of the yarn, and you're going to put these over your loom, okay? Just like this. You see this? You're going to go into the very first stitch that you did. And you're going to bring that all the way around every single one of these. So go ahead and do this, and I'll see you when we get to the end of it. All right, all we're going to do is take this bottom loop and we're going to put it over the top one. And then you're going to take your pick and you're just going to take the bottom thread and move it right over the top. So you're going to take the bottom thread and go right over the top, just like this. And just like we did all the other ones, only this one is going to form the brim of our hat. Now, this is kind of in my way, so I'm going to have to take it off for a minute, but I'm just going to go over, leave the original 2 threads on our loom. Go ahead and repin that so I don't have to fiddle with it. And I'm going to go around and bring you back to where we had our first one taken off, and I'll show you the next step. Okay, now we're just going to do the same as all the other rows. Just push these down all the way down to the bottom. All right, now we're gonna do the same thing as all the other rows we've done. Now you've created the brim of your hat, rim of your hat, brim of your hat. This is gonna make it so nice and thick to lay on your head. And so all we're gonna do now is take our little piece and start going around and making the next row. Now, if you've done this rim and you just aren't exactly sure, you know, if you counted 20 rows, don't worry about it. This is going to be about 3 to 4 inches as it comes down the loom. So however big you want the rim of your hat, this is a typical rim for a big hat. So, you know, just feel free to just look at it by look. You don't have to be exact counting rows. It can get kind of confusing if you're, you know, if you come off on one of them and forget where you've counted. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and work on these rows, and I will come back as soon as we are ready to tie it together. Actually, I think what I'll do is I'll finish a couple rows, and then we're going to change some thread so that you can see how easy it is to do that as well. Okay, it's time to change the color of our yarn. I actually decided I want this small row right next to the rim of my hat. So I did find a little chunkier yarn. This is kind of it's an older yarn that I had. It's got kind of some different texture to it, and it is quite thick. So I'm only going to use one of these. And all I'm going to do is cut my thread about, I'm going to leave a nice long tail, maybe 3 or 4 inches. And we're going to just put that in place, and then we're going to take our new yarn and we're just going to match it up to this material, this thread, because in a couple of rows we're going to tie this off, and this is going to make it really secure. It's going to be knitted in, and then it's also going to be, you know, ready for us to, you know, to do our knitting. So I'm going to go ahead and just wrap it around just like I would my other thread. I'm just wrapping it around the loom, and right now I'm going to hold on to this because it's just kind of, it needs to stay tight for a couple rows so you can tie them off. So let me go around this with this thicker yarn, and then I'm going to get to the end of it and I'll show you how we do this. All right, here we are at our first edge, and we'll put this right up over our new thread. Just like this, just like we've been doing. You're gonna go all the way around, and the same thing, we're gonna put this right on the, we're going to move all these pieces down the peg, and we're going to start with another row of the gold. All right, we've come to our beginning piece again. We're just going to push these down. All right, now I'm going to do a couple of rows so I can get this a little bit more secure, and then I'm going to tie off these ends. So I've got a couple rows of my gold done. So all I'm going to do is take those original strands that I had, and I'm going to tie those off. I want to make sure that they don't come unraveled. So I'm just going to tie them in a knot. Now we'll weave them in the back of the hat later, but this will just keep it from unraveling. And we're just going to, I'm probably going to do a couple more rows of these. Okay, we're ready to finish our hat. As you can see, I've got about, I think I've got about 37 rows that I've done, and you want anywhere between 35 to 40 rows, or, you know, 10 to 12 inches of hat. So I am done. All I'm going to do now to finish this and be able to pull it together is we're going to take this thread and go all the way around our loom, and you're going to go a little bit over it, not too much, and you're just going to cut your thread. You're going to take your thread and you're going to pull it under that first loop. So we're gonna go at the top here, and we're just gonna take this thread and pull it under, just like this. And you're gonna pull it through, pull it all the way through, and go on to the next one. So this one we're actually going under, we're not going over. We're gonna go to the top, we're gonna pull it, go through that little loop and pull it. You're gonna pull this all the way taut, all the way around it, and you'll see when we get done with this, how easy this is gonna be to pull this hat together. It's gonna be super simple. Okay, as soon as you've got all that done, you're going to take everything off the loom, just like this. Okay, here's the final moment. So here's your hat, and you want to pull this part together, but we're going to pull this inside out first because we want to tie up all these loose ends. So all you're going to do is just pull this together. Look how easy this is. Just pull, 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 pull. You're pulling these strings together. This is so simple. Now what I typically do when I have two pieces of yarn like this is I just pull one of them through the other side, just like this. Now a crochet hook works a lot better, but let me see if I can, it's pretty loose. So let me just pull this one through and I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, so we pulled it nice and tight, and all I'm gonna do is tie a knot right here. That's it. That is it. Now, I usually put a pom-pom on the top of mine. Now, you can do one of two things. You can either weave this in, you can weave this into your hat. I don't do that. I usually tie a little knot close to it with both of my threads, just like that. And then I just leave it just like that. Because if there's something that pulls out later, I want to have a little something to work with. And these are the ones that we added the yarn. So I'm just gonna, again, tie these in a knot. I want them nice and tight. Now this yellow one will fray, so I'm gonna tie it in a separate knot closer to this hat, just like this. See if I can get a knot tied. Okay, so I'm gonna tie that. Okay, now I'm just gonna, same thing, I'm not gonna weave this in. I'm gonna leave that there. Nobody's gonna see it and they're not gonna feel it. Same thing with this, we're just gonna give it a tie. Again, I wanna tie this little knot here, close to the material. Now, if you wanna take a crochet hook or whatever and just, you know, touch this up, you go right ahead. This is your hat, do whatever you like. I like leaving it just like that. And there's our little hat. Isn't that cute? Now, I'm probably gonna put a pom-pom on mine, but honestly, a lot of men don't like the pom-poms. So look how beautiful this came out. And just adding that extra piece of yarn really made a difference in the way that it looked. So even if you don't know how to knit, anybody can make these hats. So I'm gonna do a pom-pom tutorial probably tonight. I'll link it on this video tomorrow, so if you wanna see how to do the pom-pom, you know, feel free to do that. I'll try to link both of these videos tomorrow after I get the pom-pom done. But there's my hat. I'm real happy with it. These make great Christmas gifts for people who like to ski or live in the cold or what have you. So make yourself a hat. Even if you don't know how to knit, anybody can do this with a knitting loom. So I'm gonna link all these things in the description below. And please like and comment. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them for you. Have a great day, everybody.